For decades, Cuba has been the sleeping giant of the boxing world, having been forced from the professional leagues into the amateur boxing arena back in the 1960s. But a new deal is about to change all that. Cuban officials from the National Sports Institute and the Cuban Boxing Federation announced that Cuban boxers will finally be able to fight professionally for the first time in over 60 years. And the world of boxing is in for a real shakeup, in more ways than one. Just ask longtime boxing trainer Alberto Gonzalez.
I think it is a revolution for us Cubans because, for example, the fighters can now make money to maintain their families. We have always fought for our own pleasure, but if there is an incentive, especially now that life is so difficult here, I think we will have a lot more boxers.
Before the revolution, the small Caribbean country was a boxing force with champs like Kid Gavilan Gonzalez, the money-making trailblazer Eligio Sardina, and the welterweight champ Benny Paret. But after the revolution, boxers were banned from competing professionally. But that didn't stop them dominating. They just had to dominate the amateur circuit instead. And there's no better place for an amateur to dominate than the Olympics. For an island of just over 11 million people, this tiny Caribbean nation is astounding. 41 Olympic gold medals, with 78 in total, is second only to the United States, a country with almost 30 times the population. Plus, Cuban women still aren't allowed to compete. It's not that Cuban women can't box, because they absolutely can. It's because the Cuban government believes that their women aren't built for receiving punches.
If a woman has the desire to box, then she should, because this is a sport, just like any other. I would love to represent Cuba in boxing. Every blow hurts, of course it does. That's why defense exists, and we can counterattack. I'm going to do my best to hit and not get hit.
The point is, even without women in competition, Cuba is an absolute goldmine of amateur pugilistic talent. They could only get bigger with the addition of women.
Women have a strong potential, and this potential must be exploited. They are diamonds in the rough.
In short, their amateur potential is absolutely off the charts. Let's just look at the history of professional heavyweight world champions to see what they might be able to achieve. The greatest himself, Muhammad Ali, won light heavyweight gold. So did Leon Spinks. Joe Frazier won the heavyweight gold medal, as did George Foreman and Ray Mercer and Alexander Usyk. And Lennox Lewis won the super heavyweight gold, as did Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua. Winning an Olympic gold medal isn't a guarantee of professional glory, but that's a serious list of serious talent. By example, Cuba's Tefilo Stevenson beat them all in terms of Olympic success, having become the first man to win gold at 3 consecutive Olympics in the same weight class. Stevenson won heavyweight gold at Munich in 1972, Montreal in 76, and then again in Moscow in 80. At the 72 Games, he also won the Val Barker Trophy, which is awarded to the best boxer at the Games.
He was the greatest Cuban boxer of all time, the greatest amateur boxer in the world. He was willing to fight the biggest professional boxers of his time.
Stevenson was so good that he was offered $5 million to defect, just so that he could face Muhammad Ali, right around when Ali was putting down George Foreman. But Stevenson politely declined the lucrative offer, saying, "What's $1 million compared to the love of 8 million Cubans?" It's a lovely sentiment. For most Cuban boxers, though, the love of their country doesn't pay the bills. And for today's amateurs who could go all the way, this new deal could change all that.
Well, we made it to the national team, which is the long way, but we did not have any chance of participating in professional boxing. And it is the dream of every boxer to be a professional world champion and to get the belt and to make money. But we must always remember that we come from amateur boxing.
It's a dream of every Cuban boxer to win world titles, like the ones claimed by the boxing wizard Guillermo Rigondeaux. The Jackal went undefeated as a pro for almost 9 years and won titles in 2 weight divisions. He was remarkable. But in 2009, after claiming 2 Olympic gold medals, the Jackal had to defect from Cuba to the States because that was the only option for him if he wanted to fight professionally. That's why several outstanding Cuban boxers like Luis Ortiz and Yordenis Ugas have left the island.
This new generation of boxers that have left the island because of economic problems, and some others that we all know about, they are already standing out. But with Cuban boxing schools and the chance to become professionals here, they will really stand out.
For Cuban amateurs, it's the best news they could have hoped for. But not everyone is so confident that this is the revolution they're being promised. For one, the U.S. embargo on Cuba, which has been in place since 1962, still does not allow Cuban champions to participate in professional boxing events, which are usually organized in the United States. And then there's always the potential for Cuban corruption, with the professional winnings going to the government and not the fighters, because there's precedent for that happening to Cuban boxers already.
One thing is what one says, and another thing is what one does. And the migration of boxers out of Cuba will continue depending on what the government does. If they keep the money of the people, it will be the same. Because here we have boxers who went to the World Series and they still haven't been paid. So that is the problem. How will they manage the money? I think that if they are a bit more flexible with the boxers and give them a bit more freedom and give them the money they earn for their effort, I think they will stay.
For now, though, we have to celebrate this massive win for Cuban boxers. It's a brilliant step forward for the country and the sport, which should have professional fighters from around the world quaking in their boots. Thanks for watching. And remember, if you want more fight sports in your life, just hit the subscribe button.